All right, so we're live basically, and we're good to go with today's session. Glory to God.
Hallelujah.
Amen.
So,
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's edition of this amazing conversation that we've been having all this while. Yesterday, we started the conversation. First of all, my name is Mason IB West. I serve as the college director at the Love Life Institute. Even though I am a minister of the gospel and apostle by calling, serving as the lead apostle at the Missions Without Borders International, when I take my seat as a marriage or relationship consultant, I do not come necessarily with a pastoral cloak. I come with the background of experience as a father of 4 adults and one teenager. I come as one that, with a 25-year experience, having been married in the year 2000, even though my spouse had passed on 19 years into our marriage. I come with the background of a researcher as one who has authored 10 books, 8 of which are on relationships and 2 on behavioral dynamics. I also come with the background of a certified life coach and a trainer. Tonight again, I'm joined by Victor Gabriel Ayodele. He's also a man of God. But like I've always introduced him, I keep emphasizing certain things beyond the pastoral cloak because for certain persons, once you present as a pastor, there is a mindset. They are not able to be open, to be receptive of these conversations. But you see, when you are dealing with relationship dynamics, truth is that relationship will not work just because you are a Christian. Relationships do not thrive just because you are a man of God. We've seen people in all Qaeda who struggle. They do exceptionally well as doctors until they get married. They do exceptionally well as lawyers until they get married. They do exceptionally well as men of God, but they can't put their marriages together. So this is
yeah.
way beyond that. We come with experience, we come with research, we come with statistics, we come with data, we come as men and women who have a passion in this direction. And so tonight again, we're here to look at the topic, why do we miss our diamonds while picking up stones? Is it possible for your boyfriend to stop you from finding your husband? It is why we are here again to look at the nitty gritty of this conversation, to share our experiences, to share knowledge, and to hope that the things that we talk about will change the narrative for somebody. I believe that there will always be something to learn. So, Pastor Victor, you are welcome.
Thank you very much.
Journalist, forex trader, ghostwriter, and one that is passionate about realignment in the marital institution. Yesterday, we had an interesting time, you will agree with me. And what we want to do today is to just take it to the next level. So, Mr. Victor, if we switch this conversation and we say, um, don't let your boyfriend stop you from finding your husband, what will you tell the ladies?
Um, what I would say basically to the ladies is let there be a clear definition of what you want with your life. Um, basically, you are supposed to be an helpmate. So it's almost like you're being or you've been designed by God to help out in a particular progression. So if God has told you certain things about yourself, it already makes you realize the kinds of person whose story you would fit into perfectly. So the idea of picking stones and then, just trying to see where the boat leads, and then one day you by mistake end up with one person will not make a lot of sense. So I think it boils down to being particular about our sense of purpose, about what we discern God saying about our lives, and about who fits into that narrative. Because if you don't, you will probably have a boyfriend that will stop you from finding your husband. And the problem with that is that when you lose that boyfriend, you will not be able to marry that particular husband. So it's only God's mercy that can give you another husband that would fit into a similar narrative. Because the truth is, we are all programmed for a reason, and it is a conditioning from birth. God does not just wake up one morning all of a sudden and begin to think, okay, Victor, what is he going to become? Um, Esther, what is she going to become? No, it has been conditioned from time immemorial. Everything about your forging process, about your childhood, about your parents, every single conditioning is to that end. So sometimes the reason why people delay in coming into this kind of alignment is because they missed previous seasons. So what we're trying to say is if you stay with certain human beings that prevent you from finding your husband, you will still find the husband, but it is in another timeline. Yeah, so you have missed a season. So basically that's my intro.
All right, that is profound. In a nutshell, we are individually responsible for the outcome of our relationships. Whether your boyfriend will hinder or stop you from finding your husband or not will depend on intentionality in navigating the relationship space. If we are not intentional, if we are not purposeful, then we are going to be busy. I think it was yesterday that Victor talked about situationship. I've also had people talk about delay-tionship. If we're
Mm.
not intentional with how we navigate relationships and negotiate relationships, then we are going to find ourselves in either situationships or relationships. Now, one of the things I have found ladies have to deal with oftentimes in relationship is that they are in relationships where they are the ones literally paying their bills while the man is laid back. It is becoming a recurrent decimal. Now, what advice will you give to ladies who are in a relationship and for some reasons it does appear that the bills are on them? It does appear that the burden is on them. It does appear that for whatever reason, out of love, out of commitment, out of whatever name you're going to call it, there are situations where these people would have loved to get married and get settled. But the guy is not financially buoyant. The guy is not at the place where he can get things going. Yesterday, in one of our inferences, we talked about the fact that somebody is in a relationship with a lady, and 1 year, 2 year, 3 years, he cannot even afford an accommodation. He cannot even afford the basic necessaries of life. Sometimes, to a large extent, the financial burden is on the lady. In put it in reverse mode, there are also situations where men have been found to have sponsored ladies, and after sponsoring them, they are dumped. But for now, let's focus on a situation where the woman bears the burden financially. The question here is sometimes the lady thinks she has put in so much that she cannot just walk out. Sometimes there is emotional connection. Sometimes I've never felt this way before. So it's not comfortable. It's not easy to just walk out when you have invested such time.
Okay, everybody. I think Pastor Mason is having an issue with his network connection. So just give us a few minutes so that we can try fix it.
I think we had some very grievous technical issues. Apologies for that. Um,
Welcome back, sir.
Welcome back. That was a very interesting technical hitch there. But we're glad that we're back again. So I was saying that I don't know if you got the point, the question fully that I asked, but I was asking we one recurring decimal in relationships that ladies have to deal with is situations where the bills, the financial burden is on the lady. And
Yeah.
because the lady has put in so much time and so much resources, and of course, there is that connection of heart, she's not able to step out. She's not able to give up on the relationship. She just keeps hoping, just keeps believing that things are going to turn out. And so she keeps at it, even if other people show up, faithfulness, fidelity, commitment, keeping to your words. So she got to stay stuck there. But take it or leave it. Others are showing interest, she's turning them down. And, there's the disadvantage of the biological clock ticking for the lady. What would be your view in considering the subject of our conversation? What advice will you give to such a lady in that circumstance? Because chances are that she might end up, you know, being the victim if unless something happens otherwise. Let me hear from you now.
Okay, sir. Uh, what I would say is advice. um, I think we grew up hearing a very popular that said a broken cord. So the truth is, it's better to exit early because this kind of situation, I will not necessarily say I'm a prophet of doom, but when you see certain signs, you know already that it will fail. I think this was one of the problems I had with a lot of my female friends at some point. I was just like that prophet of doom. So you just tell me certain situations, I tell you straight to the point. This relationship will fail. Step out as early as you can because from the look of things, every single index is negative. This is not even a situation where you are saying, okay, let's try and see whether it will work. This one cannot work. I don't even have to be a prophet to know. And usually people are very um skeptical about leaving, especially when, like you said, they've invested so much time. Sometimes I wonder how people get to be in a relationship for that long. You hear some people say they've been in a relationship for 7 years, 9 years. I'm like, are you serious? That's literally longer than the lifespan of many marriages around the world today. So, first of all, there's really no point to be in a relationship for that long. There's no point. Um, if you are a person who really does not care about the whole standard of God as regards relationship, of course, you can date for as long as possible. But basically, people are even married when they are still dating because they literally do everything. Some even live together. But if you are someone who has made up your mind that you do not want to have anything else to do with premarital sex, then it makes no sense to date for that long. That being said, only people who have dated aimlessly for that long would have a problem coming out of that relationship. Sometimes it even starts well, and then at some point it becomes confusing. So in that kind of situation, it's understandable. It started well. So all of your investment is because this looks like it was making a lot of sense. But for some people, from day one, it already looks like there is no sense, there is no prospect, there is no future. So what I would say is whatever situation you find yourself in, whether you're the one who started very well and then at some point you are not understanding what's going on again, everything is going left, or you are someone who from the beginning it already did not make sense. Let there be clear definitions. If the interaction is heading nowhere, let there be clear definitions. And in this case where you're talking about the woman being the one who finances, well, it basically depends on the individual context. Um, Normally, the man is supposed to be the provider of the home, and well, he can receive support from his wife and all. There are situations where the woman is actually the one who has most of the finances, and you will never know. I know one of those kinds of situations. I don't know about many, but there's one particular family where today they introduce the husband and the wife. You will not believe that it's the wife that has the money. The only reason why I know is because I've been aware of their family trajectory from before they got married into when they got married. So she's so submitted in her finance that literally the husband is the one who controls it. And a very reasonable husband to the end that the way he loves Pampers and pets his wife, everybody is enjoying their lives. He's now financially supportive of his wife. She's enjoying the best of her life because the man makes sure that everything is available. Well, the card is with him, Sha. Give me one of the cards or some of the cards. But in that context, they are finding it easy. For some women, literally, I feel like submission and a whole lot of other things are attached to some of these indices. So if they are the ones who are providing, somehow their respect for the man will start, they're like, you're not being the head of the house that I expect. So for me, on the final note, I feel it really depends on all of the individual context. Um, Being with a man who maybe he started providing at a point, then after a while he lost his job or something happened, and then he's no longer providing. If that would be a problem, then there should probably be a conversation, and you trust God for help as regards how he's going to recalibrate and become the head of the house. But the idea that that there should be a layer or a level of submission in that regard. Some people practice it, but for some people, it's going to be an issue. So I think that's my submission.
When people are already married and something happens and the woman is providing, it's
Oh, okay.
one case. It's
Yes.
one case, and I probably at some point will come to that.
Okay, sir.
But now,
Oh, the relationship. Oh, okay. I get.
before the marriage is not even taking place because the man is not financially capable. In fact,
Oh,
so
okay.
far in the relationship, the load is even on the woman.
Mm,
Now, then what is she going to do? Because, like I
mm,
said, in that situation, other people who probably have better prospects are coming, but she's going to turn them down because she's in a relationship and she loves this guy. Probably he loves her, but things are not just going well with him. What is she
mm.
going to do? Are you suggesting that she should just walk out because things are not fine? She has waited for 2 years. She probably has waited for 3 years. There are situations in which the woman now loans or gifts the man money to go and pay a
Yeah,
dowry or go and foot the bills or now funds the relationship directly or indirectly because the marriage has to take place. There are situations where the woman is not funding the relationship or does not want to fund it or is not buoyant enough to fund it. But when intending couples, find themselves in complexities like this,
yes, sir.
take it or leave it, take it or leave it, it might end well. But there are thousands of cases where it did not
Wait,
end
yes.
well. What advice do we have for ladies in this kind of complexity for navigating through it?
Okay, now I think I get the point better because I was previously talking about a situation where they're already married. Uh, it's really will be very complicated, like you said, sir. And a lot of people don't like listening to what the figures say. That's statistics now, basically. So many a times when you look at a relationship that eventually leads to a marriage where the lady has any significant advantage over the guy, um, averagely it doesn't end well. Yeah, there are situations where it does, but there are other situations where it does not end well. Sometimes it's even the problem of the man because it's almost like they don't intentionally take a sense of responsibility because like things are flowing. Some other times it's not their fault. They are doing everything within their power, but things are not just aligning. So the question is a bit tricky because when I think about, I think, and I'm going to give a personal example why. Um, I had a conversation with my mom one time, and then I was trying to find out her line of thought before getting married to my dad because when I listened to their story back then, truthfully speaking, even me, I was not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. So I wanted to find out what did you see? Like what was the assurance points? How did you get to know that what these lines that are not joining now will eventually join? And then after having a conversation with her, I realized that it was more like a sense of direction, a sense of purpose, and not just assurance and giving of big words and all of that. She could see actions adding up. So I'm not just promising you that I'm going to get you the world. I'm showing you by getting you little things that I can do right now. I'm not just saying, okay, because you have a lot of money, let me just leave everything to you. I'm already seeing a sense of responsibility. So I know right now you don't have a lot, but I can see from the little that you have that you're making intentional efforts. And you're showing me a standard framework that if tomorrow finances expand, there will actually be um, this. Basically. So I might not necessarily counsel that they should. I'll look at the individual scenario, but I might not necessarily counsel, especially in a situation where I've seen that the lady is already beginning to feel burdened. She's already beginning to feel overwhelmed, which is almost always the case. Um, it becomes a bit tricky because when you look at the fact that one or two would work, you'll be like, okay, maybe they should try. But then when you now calculate the fact that sometimes out of 10, only two will work. Sometimes out of 20, only four or five will work. Then it becomes a bit more tricky. So I think there might be hope if the guy displays a sense of responsibility, even in his lack, and he shows definite signs that if there is financial empowerment, he would actually be the head of that home the way it has been drafted and designed. And then the lady also is at a point where somehow she's able to work, do this without being overwhelmed, which is almost impossible. So that's about it. So it's really tricky.
As tricky as we find this to be,
Yes, sir.
trust me, trust me, there are many relationships that are in this quagmire.
Yes.
And unless wisdom directs the relationship, the ladies in this relationship, they are going to find themselves eventually messed up. Now, the
True.
following thoughts come to me. Number one, I insist that a young man who does not have a source of income, livelihood, has no business
In my
getting, no, let's not even get into marriage yet.
oh,
He
okay.
has no business. You know, what we do is this lady is beautiful, this lady is intelligent. Even though I am not at a point where I'm ready for marriage, let me hold that down before somebody else takes her.
Yeah.
So we occupy the lady and we occupy her sometimes indefinitely. It's not our fault. It is probably the fault of the lady who allows us to occupy her and shut her down. We literally put her out of circulation, and so she does not have the opportunity to be available to prospective candidates who might be ready to take her to the next level to fulfill her purpose. I do not
Yeah.
understand why a guy who does not have a source of livelihood has any business in, going having a girlfriend or dating a girl. Relationships, it's generally relationships are expensive for crying out loud, for goodness
True.
sake. So why are you in a relationship if you don't have the resources to maintain a relationship, whether you are the guy or whether you are the lady? So For the lady who is accepting to be in a relationship with a guy who does not have a source of livelihood, something is fundamentally wrong. Take it to the next level. If the guy has a source of livelihood, let's say
Yes, sir.
he earns 50,000 naira a month. Let's say he earns 80,000 naira a month. Let's say he earns 100,000 naira a month. Trust me, in the present economic reality that we find ourselves in our own climate in this part of the world, earning 100,000, juxtapose it with what it costs to get married to a lady. Unfortunately for us, in this part of the world, we marry one woman 3 times. So we go for the traditional marriage, as we call it, then we go for the court wedding, as we call it, then we go for the church wedding, as we call it. Encumbrances that we have put on ourselves by ourselves, and we don't have anybody to blame. When you put these costs side by side with somebody who is earning 100,000, then you know that 100,000 is just a joke. However, if two people are in a relationship and the guy earns 50 to 100,000, for crying out loud, getting into the and you know, very, as religious people, we like to do a lot of things in the name of faith.
Yes.
And so when two people come into a relationship where the guy earns 100,000 and the lady probably earns 50,000, the expectation, if you ask me, should have been that as we date for 2 months, for 6 months, for 1 year, we are going to get married after 1 year. If we're going
Yes,
to
sir.
get married after 1 year, between now and 1 year, how much of our 100,000 are we saving towards the marriage? How much of the guy's 100,000 is he setting aside? How much of the lady's 50,000 is she setting aside? In 12 months, what is being set aside? What will it culminate into? In 12 months, what the lady is setting aside, what will it culminate into? Then they sit down to plan a marriage within the scope of their income. Of course, probably when you want to go get married, the goodwill of people, some people might help here and there, but you plan within what you have so that whatever people bring, whatever else people bring, is a surprise, it's a support, it's okay. But you plan within what you have and then plan a marriage. If what you have can deal with a traditional marriage, you deal with a traditional marriage and then go and live your life.
Yes, sir.
If what you have can only take care of right price payment without any necessary ceremony, you sort that out. You are lawfully, legitimately married. You move on with your life. But a lot of the times, we want to be in relationships, we don't have plans, we don't have strategies, we don't have structures, we don't have clearly what we intend
Yeah.
to do to cultivate this relationship. So it makes us stay in relationships indefinitely. And then now you are tied to, you are locked down with somebody. Other options are coming. Take it or leave it. That person you are locked down with is hindering you from finding those who are ready to settle down with you. So you have two
Yeah.
options if you ask me. The two options are: number one is that you get married to this person within available resources. You of course, you earn 50,000 as a lady, he earns 100,000. You can't be planning a society wedding in
True.
the name of faith. So you get married and you move on. Otherwise, you position yourself for those who are probably at a place where they are ready to get married. They have the resources to get married. If we do not do life intentionally, we will trap ourselves in spaces. And of course, at the end of the day, we will blame God.
Yeah.
God has gone through a lot of blackmail. It has not
Mhm.
reduced who He is. It never will.
Yes, sir.
Almost all of the times, life is choice driven. Everything happening to us are defined by the choices we are making. And as soon as you make a choice, you have defined your outcome. Not the devil, not God, Not even the people in your space, but your choices are defining your outcome. It means that ladies, as they go into relationships, must become intentional. You know, oftentimes it is even the ladies that are responsible for the delay of weddings or marriages, because
Yeah.
she knows the kind of person she said yes to. She first of all, she knows her income. This lady earns only 50,000. Next, she accepts to date a guy who earns barely 100,000. And yet, something somewhere in the name of faith deceives her to still be planning a society wedding. Like the lady I was talking about yesterday, who doesn't even own a car, but she's thinking of a man to marry her with 150 to 300 million. You know, this some people are crazy,
True.
crazy,
With you,
crazy.
sir.
You are engaged to, you are dating somebody who earns 100,000. You should already have foreseen the level of marriage or wedding that you are going to experience, and then cut your coat accordingly, get married, and move on. But you are with that kind of person for some reasons. He's telling you tomorrow will be better. I'm gonna take you to Canada. I'm gonna take you to Cairo. I'm gonna take you to Mauritania. I'm gonna take you. Fantastic dreams. Most of those dreams are going to happen in the marriage, but get married first. And then you are, you like sweet talks. So you are planning Mauritania with somebody that is earning 100,000, and you are thinking of a wedding gown that will cost 350,000. Jokers everywhere. We must become realistic. Planning, strategic planning of our lives becomes critical for moving us to the next level. What do you think?
Yeah, very, very true, sir. And those points are actually very valid. There cannot be decisions without a roadmap. That's basically what I think this point is about. And I actually had a conversation with someone today. I'm just chipping this in to say I totally agree with the point. And then it's not marriage, we're talking about something else. So she's kind of preparing for an event. And I was trying to ask her, what are the plans? What are the roadmaps? What do you have in place? She was like, no, 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 God is going to provide. I'm like, I'm not an unbeliever. I'm actually a believer, but you can't do things without planning and then think God will provide. We were not designed to move by miracles alone. In fact, miracles are supposed to be God's way of augmenting our labor. When you've worked and then your works do not measure up, God steps in by mercy. But some believers have designed a system where their whole life is premised on miracles. So I guess that's the point you're trying to make, where people want to plan a marriage. There's no physical roadmap. They don't have any plan at all. When are we getting married? Next year. What are the plans? What is the finance like? Everything. They were like, God will provide. And then God is even shocked. God is like, I will provide. There is no physical structure that I can even bless. You don't have, the Bible says He will bless the works of our hands. You don't have a work that God can even bless. And you are saying He will provide. So I agree totally with this. You can't just sit back and expect a miracle to happen, expect magic to happen. Or people have developed this habit of creating WhatsApp groups where you invite your friends to come and contribute on your behalf. It's one thing for you to have sorted a percentage of what you want to spend, and then you're just reaching out to friends and families and saying, help us. Even though me personally, I don't even understand the idea behind that thing. Yeah, let people help you of their own volition. If they don't value you enough to contribute to what you are doing, then I'm beginning to think, do they really count you important? Yeah, so you can actually do that. I'm not saying don't do that. In case you have friends and family, they would willingly support. But ensure that they are not the ones contributing the money you want to use and get married. Let it be like an augmentation, you know, let it be an addition. Let it not be that every single thing that you are going to use for that wedding is supposed to be contributed by friends and family. It's so unwise. Or you want to borrow money, or you want to, because some people literally borrow money for their wedding, and then you now start your family with drinking Gary. There are certain things that are very unwise. So I totally agree with this, sir.
All right, now let's take this conversation one step further. during your last submission,
Yes, sir.
you brought in the situation where the people are already married and the guy probably has lost his job and the burden, financial burden of the family is resting on the woman. Now let me play with that piece of information a little bit. Now, one of the things ladies must keep at the back of their minds is the fact that in a relationship, the woman must always allow the man to take the position of a provider. I do not mean that, but when the man is not able to provide, what most women, and I'm having this conversation now before marriage. I'm giving
Yes,
an
sir.
illustration of what ought to be before marriage. A lot of the times in a relationship, maybe the guy earns 50,000, the lady earns 300,000. Averagely, what happens is that they go to eat out and maybe the bill is 20,000. The woman decides to pay. They have one or two things to do and the bill is XYZ. The woman thinks, well, you don't have the money, I have the money. The woman decides to pay. That is fantastic. That is kind. That is good for every woman to do. But the challenge is this: when the woman begins to foot the bill, psychologically, what happens to the average man is that they become laid back. And as soon as the woman takes the driver's seat and makes the man to become laid back, trust me, she will continue to foot the bill all her life. Most likely. Now that happens 80% of the times. Now, so you are in a relationship and the woman earns more than the guy, and for love and for whatever reason you decide to stay, or for conviction. Fantastic. But the
Sir.
point now is, if we are going out to eat, if we are going out there to eat, for example, I earn 350,000, the guy earns 50,000, Mr. Victor. Is there anything wrong if we eat within the limit that the man can afford? So that the man, so if our going out, we want to eat out, we want to sit out, and the man can afford Coke, how about we take Coke and the man pays for it? So that he continues to be responsible, so that he continues to have an edge, so that he continues to be the provider. Because almost all of the times, when the woman steps in and begins to pay bills, the men become laid back. Listen, I've seen
Yeah.
men who lost their job 20 years ago who still parade as I lost my job. Like when? 20 years ago. I don't get that. How in the world does somebody lose his job 20 years ago and has not found what next to do? And
Mm.
you continue to answer, I lost my job. The woman is doing multiple things to earn an income, feeding the family, whereas you probably are all there sitting down playing drafts, playing Ludo, doing all kinds of lousy things in the name of I lost my job. And the woman is now footing the bill. The reasons are because when women step into the driver's seat, men become comfortably laid back. And I'm saying that this scenario oftentimes begins to play out even before they say I do.
Yeah.
Because the women in their love and kindness sometimes step up. That was not a design. They all know that they shut down the man, and the man became comfortable, laid back, doing literally nothing to up his game. Because When you find a responsible man, even if he has to go to a building site to labor, he will earn a living. The
Yes, sir.
woman must either compel, persuade, motivate, convince the man to do whatever he had to do to earn a living, or this, and it doesn't have to earn as much as the woman. But if the man is earning, let's say she's earning 350 and he's earning 50,000, of course, at the end of the day, if the family budget requires 200,000, out of his 50,000, he probably will bring 40,000. The woman will probably bring 200, 160,000, but he is contributing.
Yeah.
Because she earns more, she contributes more. But the fact that she earns more cannot, should not, under any circumstance, excuse the man, free the man from going to labor to bring in. Otherwise, as soon as the man becomes laid back, she has lost him. It will take forever to jumpstart such a man to get anything done. And this is where a lot of the women miss it. And I'm saying this to say to people who are in relationships, it doesn't matter the excuses why the man is not able to do what he got to do, what he got to do, what he got to do. There must be no excuse for not earning. And then we can now plan our marriage with what you are earning and what I am earning. But you must earn. And you must contribute from what you are earning. Because if you are not contributing, then it's a red flag. And it becomes a critical indicator that you see, you have somebody, a boyfriend, is going to shut
Mm.
out your real husband. It's your choice to make your boyfriend your husband by strategy. Otherwise, that boyfriend can hinder the real husband. Am I making a point there?
Yeah. I agree with you totally, sir. This particular scenario, I've witnessed it even in recent times, and it really was a whole lot. In fact, at some point, I didn't even know what to say next because the exact same scenario where the guy was, a provider and all. And then this one, I think they were already married at some point, and then there was a loss of job scenario. And then just exactly like you said, he became laid back. And so it spiraled and spiraled and spiraled, and it's like consistently for years just stayed that way. And it's happening because every single thing that has to do with household bills and whatever, she steps in and makes the payment. And so it's like he just got comfortable with the whole idea and then making no effort to, to take over the seat, the driver's seat of that marriage. And just like you suspect, the marriage has gotten to a point where they are already contemplating a divorce. Yeah, because it's like it just keeps spiraling and spiraling and spiraling, and like every day it gets worse. So what you're saying is actually very true. The moment there is that complete assumption of the position of the provider, things go awry. And when I started realizing the numbers, I first of all wanted to fault the women until I now realized that it's just a psychological thing. Somehow it's psychologically wired that when um the men are not the providers, it's not just even about the response of the women. The men themselves become a case study in that kind of scenario because it's almost like a lot of things just go wrong with their leadership ability the moment they lose their ability to provide. Some of them do it very consciously because it's like they just lose all their interest in looking for a job or whatever because they know that whatever bill comes up, she's going to pay. His food, she would sort the food. His rent, she's going to sort it. Whatever it is, she would sort it. So he loses that desire to actively take over the driver's seat and then begins to do things passively. So I totally agree with what you said, sir. It's advisable to not start off that way. Because if you're in a relationship and it has started like that, it's already a signal. Yeah. So let it start on the relationship where these things are clearly defined. You are a helpmate. So whatever responsibility has been given to the man, the best you are expected to do is to help out. You're expected to be a supporting striker, to be a support system, and there should be a sense of responsibility and leadership. If that is not available, then it's not really a matter of whether she outends you. There will be trouble eventually. I totally agree with you, sir.
What we're discussing here is so profound. I may be shaking tables and it's okay. This may sound harsh, but it's okay. As a consultant, when it comes to relationship and marriage, we continue to deal with a lot of issues on a daily basis, and it's high time we come out there and proffer solutions for those who are yet to get into the marriage so that they can enter right. Who knows whether we can minimize casualties, reduce devastations. So one of the things we're seeing here and now is the fact that if as a woman in a dating relationship, you are the one paying all the bills, it's a red flag. A responsible man will go out of his way to contribute a dime to the bill. No, he will. Listen, I am the last person anybody can tell that there is no job. Listen, don't lose your job and lose yourself. Become the job. In the worst case scenario, there are building sites, there are laboring sites, there are people do all kinds of things to eke out a living. It is irresponsible, it is docile, it is lazy to claim that, of course, somebody is paying the bills, so why won't you have an excuse to sit down and then be talking about joblessness? I'm not aware there are jobs anywhere, but people are going out every day earning a living. If what it costs to keep that relationship on track is 50,000, contribute 5,000, contribute 10,000. Find a way to put it in. Make sure your naira is part of what is being spent. Is it not incredible that sometimes the man will even go a borrowing from the woman and not be able to account for what happened to the money he borrowed, not be able to pay it back? If I were a man and I'm in a relationship with a lady that has enough money to give me money, instead of taking that money to spend, I will take that money to do anything I can do to earn a living. I will earn a living and, if possible, return her money to her. I will start earning a living and accounting to her. This is how much I've made out of this. Even if it is 5,000 profit I'm making, the woman should see me making effort to add value to that money. Some people are comfortable to borrow money from the woman, use up the money, come back again and borrow without even explaining what happened to the last money. And the worst thing that can even happen is for the woman to say what happened to the last money, and you see people explode and get angry. Nobody wants to be accountable to anybody. There are two, listen, if a relationship is going to end as a crisis or have a lot of issues, the signs are always there. We choose to ignore these signs, we choose to go head on, and then we crash, and then we begin to complain. This is so important. If you guys are going to eat out and all you can afford is a bottle of Coke, let him buy a bottle of Coke, and you guys should drink it and be comfortable buying a bottle of Coke. And then we go out there and then you escalate what we're going to eat, and then there are a lot of things that people must be willing to do. Oh, at that times, it's okay, today I'm paying the bills. Okay, tomorrow the woman says, oh, today I'm going to pay the bills. No, it's okay. Those understandings should be there. But the key thing here is that to let the woman continuously, consistently, perpetually pay the bills, and the excuse is, after all, she has a job. Excuse me. So I'm saying that we should be very objective in these relationships especially when it comes to finances and financial management. If we don't do this, you will get into the relationship, keep paying the bills, then keep complaining, but that's not going to make a difference. That's not going to make a difference. So as we begin to wrap up tonight's conversation, I'm going to let Pastor Victor come up with some of your last thoughts before we round up today's session. But like we said today, we're looking at those things that the women must begin to put in perspective so that they don't get themselves trapped in relationships that completely mess them up. So,
Okay,
Victor,
thank
you're
you very much, sir. So this topic of focus is really important because um literally one of the leading causes, if not the leading cause of divorce in the world today is finances. All manner of financial related affairs. Um, Infidelity is also one, but finance is formidable. So the availability or lack of availability of finance has always been a very pivotal part of any relationship and marriage. So it's very vital. I cited an example at the beginning where I talked about a couple I know, which is one of the few scenarios where the lady is actually the one who was structurally financially independent before they got married. But now, if you see both of them, you won't even know because I think what really happened is still aligns with all we've been saying because he displayed a sense of responsibility, and then I think it was, I will not say he had to put the finances to work, so it's almost like the finances were available when they got into a relationship, and then him taking the finance, he could translate it and multiply it. So in that case, I think he almost is more financially, in fact, he is more now. When you see both of them, you know a large chunk of where their finances has gotten to right now is by his particular contribution. But the money started from the woman. Yeah. So it's that kind of thing. You got just like the example you cited where it is possible to take money, but that money must be put to work and then it must be multiplied. Not the one where you just take money and then it ends. There's no explanation. I'm the head of this house. You talk, I suppress you. I'm the one that owns everything. That kind of thing. So I would say this calls for a lot of care and concern. This calls for a lot of careful deliberation. The finances should not be um, God will provide, or we are looking up to God, or God will make a way. We are not saying this to sound like unbelievers, but there has to be a roadmap. I say it all the time that the Bible said that having done all to stand, stand. So that standing part is actually by God's mercy, is by God's um, grace, but you have also done all to stand. So you are instructed to do all to stand, and then God's grace augments it. It helps you to actually stand. Because on your own, you cannot actually stand. But there is a part that you have to play before God steps in and augments it. So let's not live in a fairy tale kind of um, religious belief where we just think that just because we think God is involved in this, it will magically happen. Let there be plans structured in place because I think most of the relationships and marriages that didn't work out eventually, it's not like people were entering in and then decided that, okay, let me just do this for 3 years and go out. It's just some of these things that could easily have been discussed and worked on that were not talked about that eventually added up to be the reasons why they had to work out. And many times they loved themselves so much, they really cared about themselves, and they will still go apart because these things were not talked about, these steps were not taken. So I think this should be carefully evaluated and, you know, maybe for those who are unmarried, have structures that are designed like the clarity challenge. For those who are married, the love challenge. Just ensure that you have a system of accountability where these systems can be used to vet the current position you are in, to adjust it and help you to get to that point where you need to get to, so that a relationship that can actually work, you will not lose it all in the name of these kinds of lines that are not made clear. And then you will not also carry a relationship that will block out all the correct prospects that are probably ordained by God to be your future partners, and then you just carry somebody who is a NFA, he doesn't have any direction, and then he blocks out everybody else. And at the end of the day, you guys don't work, and then you have lost a host of amazing prospects that would have made your life easy, that would have made you to live a heaven on earth. So I think that will be all for me, or from me for tonight.
All right, one of our listeners on the platform, this is a comment. Esther says, accountability is key, but the popular notion is that the woman should be accountable. No relationship will thrive if there are no mutual accountability. I believe that we both must be accountable. The reason why oftentimes it is the woman that is being required to be accountable is because oftentimes it is the man that is providing. And so, because he provided, he now requires the woman to account for what he provides. But sometimes in the relationship, when the table switches, and for some reasons, maybe there's a temporary setback for the man, he lost his job, he's trying to get another job, so there's a 6 months window where the woman is providing. If that same woman asks the man to account for what is provided, then there'll be a problem. Now,
The
the
man of
reason
the hour.
there'll be a problem, the reason there'll be a problem is because accountability was not enshrined into their operations from the onset.
Yes, sir.
If accountability was enshrined into operations, nobody needs to demand it. It just comes naturally. I've always told men, life is not a straight line. You may be the provider today. Some life happens, and something can happen tomorrow morning, and for another 18 months, the woman will be the provider. I guarantee you, the quality of how the woman will treat you, handle you, attend to you, and provide will largely be defined by how you also handled it when you were the provider. And if I pray for you that let it not be that the reason you are no longer able to provide is health related. Because when these crises are health related, the chances of you ever getting a job again or providing again is gone forever. And the woman will now provide the rest of your life. Everything and every how you did it when you were the provider, you pay for it. It can never be the same. But if you did well, when the woman's kindness is demonstrated, she will take it to the next level. Garbage in, garbage out. I believe that it is irresponsible to take money from your spouse, whether you are the man or the woman, and not account for that money. It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible. You should account for. See, your partner labored to earn that money. If they give you the money, you should account for it. And sometimes in relationships, we are in a hurry to say, borrow me XYZ amount. Once you ask for money to be borrowed to you, it's not just that you have to pay back that money, you will have to account for that money. This is so key. This is so important. And I'm saying we must model excellence so that if my wife has more earning power and I have reasons to pick money from her, I should put it into profitable use and be able to bounce back. She should be able to see me making progress. The summary of today's
Yeah.
conversation is that most women are responsible for the irresponsibility of their men. It is
Mm.
most women that groom their men into irresponsible paths. There are certain things we began to we began to condone during courtship, during the dating process that matures in the marriage. Women have influence. The man may be the leader, but the woman is a bundle of influence, a powerhouse. That if the woman sets her boundaries, defines what is acceptable to her before they go into the marriage, then almost all of the times it will define the man's attitude, it will define what is acceptable, it will define what is not acceptable. If you don't have boundaries, then you must be ready to take whatever you see. Clearly define your non-negotiables, clearly define your boundaries, and reinforce your boundaries. It is important that
Sir.
you realize that people treat you based on what you allow, they treat you based on what you stop, they treat you based on what you reinforce. The ball is in your court. Thank you so much, Pastor Victor, for being here. We've also had profound conversations today, even though we had some technical hitches that we hope. I think the weather is a little bit unfriendly. The network itself has been
Yeah,
quite a problem since
that's a good one.
today, but we thank God that we were able to get over that, and it can only get better as we keep going. Questions, we will accept questions. If you drop your questions, we'll treat them the following day. Thank you, those of us that are watching. Paul O'Malley says accountability is required from both partners in order to succeed in relationship. Profound, profound. Thank you, Paul, for being there, and thank you, viewers. Um, your comments, your contributions, your questions are all welcome. Pastor Victor will continue with this tomorrow at 8 o'clock. Thank you for the value you bring, and thank you for being such a blessing. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.